My name is Kevin Böhnisch. I'm a computer science student at the Goethe-University in Frankfurt, Germany. And I'd like to give a very brief presentation about an application of ours called the Viki Library, which is a virtual reality library for collaborative browsing and navigation through hypertext. And in the past presentations, we already talked a lot about hypertext systems and how we can visualize or use these new technologies like virtual reality to visualize these hypertext systems or interact with them. And we thought about that as well. So we thought about hypertext systems like Discord, like Instagram, like Wikipedia. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if we had like a giant library, like a huge library, which represents Wikipedia, for example. So in this library, you would have bookshelves, and in this bookshelf, you would have books, and every book is like an article in Wikipedia. And you can kind of walk through or stroll through Wikipedia in a virtual reality, right? In a beautiful environment. Unlike the interface we currently have on the web browser with the 2D interface, like I don't think many people use Wikipedia to just read some articles. Most people end up there by Googling something and then clicking the first link, and then they skim read the article and then let's go to the next, right? Because it's not very interactive. So we did that, and we firstly had to think about what is the structure of the library and how is Wikipedia, for instance, we used Wikipedia as our first hypertext system, what is corresponding to what. So we thought, okay, Wikipedia has a very typical category structure. So we have a category like geography, which has subcategories like Asia, like Europe and such. But there are also articles which are directly in this category geography. So another problem was that the library had to be huge. Like Wikipedia is massive, and you can't render or showcase this whole database of Wikipedia in like one big instance. So we had to divide that. And our solution was to say, okay, let's picture one category of Wikipedia as one room in the library, right? And then you have subcategories, which are like these branches that go out. And for each subcategory, we place portals within this room. So if we're in the room geography, we have subcategories which are portals to, let's say, Asia, let's say Europe. And we take a list of articles, like a bag of articles, and we represent this as a bookshelf. So you would walk through this room, and there would be just bookshelves standing around. And one article is obviously a book because it's the library, right? And you can just grab a book out of the bookshelf and open it and read it whilst in this immersive virtual reality library. So we did that. And here's a quick showcase how these rooms are generated. We used an algorithm to make sure that each room feels individual, right? If you go through a library, maybe there's a table, there's books lying around, there's decor, there are stairs, it has multiple levels, it is nested, right, with hallways. So we wrote an algorithm that takes one category, and on the basis of this category, like how many subcategories are there, how many books are there, how many links to other categories are there, we form these rooms accordingly so that each room doesn't feel too big for the categories representing, right? If you have a huge room for a category that has like 2 or 3 articles, it's not good, right? So we built this dynamically library, and we built each room according to the category of Wikipedia, which we fetch by API. With some post-processing, so this is like the raw format you just saw, which the algorithm just builds, and when the room is done, we put post-processing in, put lighting in and such, and in the end you have this is a snippet of a room in virtual reality. It looks like this, and we make the articles readable, as I mentioned, by grabbing a book out of the bookshelf. and then pressing a button or opening it to read the actual article. This looks like this. So we have here the article Mountain Research in Wikipedia, visualized within the Viki library, right? So you have this, this visual screen in front of you, and you have these scroll buttons on the right, and you are in the midst of the library, and you can just read the Wiki text, which we parse to showcase it in our virtual reality. And you can read any book and any article like so. It parses even the images, so you can actually watch the images, which are also in the original article. And yes, so this is how the books work. And I also mentioned the use of multiplayer or collaborative. And we implemented this using a framework called Ubik. So you can actually create online rooms, which are not the rooms I've talked about, right? These are just online rooms. You can create one, and other people can just join you, and you can walk through or read these articles within this virtual reality library together. And this is a snippet of how the avatars look. And you can even speak to each other, right? That's why the microphone is on top of the other character. Yeah, that's that for the 5-minute presentation. We have some more features, which like a minimap, lanterns and such, and stairs. But yes, that's our idea of the virtual reality library.
Thank you.
Just gonna let a quick video run while we talk about it in the background.
We have a first live question here from Fabian.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the.
A bit louder. Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, super. Yeah, no, thanks a lot for the presentation. I think just a quick comment that I think it's, I mean, yes, of course we can play games in VR, but it's like not one of the most boring, ironically enough. But yeah, we know it's possible. But exploring a library, changing its shape, so much more exciting, in my opinion. What I'm wondering is, you mentioned briefly, let's say, the geometry of the space that's going to be generated for the set of documents. I'm particularly interested in that topic, and I'm wondering how you manage changes, because it's one thing to have a set of finite document, you have 12 or 12,000 documents, okay. But if you go from 12 to 16 or from 16 to 300, then how can you maintain a shape that remains navigable, you can go through, but that you can still memorize? Because if you go from one step to another and it's completely different, then one of the benefits, let's say, of being in that space is lost, like you can't record it. So I'm very curious if you manage a change of a set of document over time, and if so, how?
So first off, the basic idea behind the algorithm is, I think everybody knows the game Minecraft, right? So the basic structure is that Minecraft is divided into chunks. And we have a very similar structure where we fetch the category from Wikipedia API, and it has a list of more subcategories and articles. And we go through these articles and lists and say, okay, let's take 20 articles, which forms one bookshelf, and 2 bookshelves are placed in one chunk. So this whole room, which you're seeing right now, is like divided into, let's say, 32 chunks or whatever. And when we are building the algorithm, we randomly decide, okay, do we want to build the chunks to the right or to the left? Do we have a hallway that goes straight or to the right? But we also store the seed, which we use to randomize these rooms in order to, if the room didn't change, which you mentioned, if the room didn't change in Wikipedia, like the category stayed the same, the seed will be the same. So if you visit this room again, it will be exactly the same, but each room will be different, right? And we have something in the, luckily Wikipedia API has a property called the revision ID. So if something changes, we recognize this in our backend server, and we say, okay, we have a new revision of the book. Let's delete the cached version of our room, so to say, right? And let's calculate that one again. So this is how we handle the changes, if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, wonderful. Wow. So the world came crashing.
So I'll ditch a distraction to forget the ongoing trouble here. Does it mean basically that the layout is random, but there is no, I don't know, semantic to it or to?
There is some semantic to it, but it is randomized within the semantic, right? You have to have some rules for the room so it doesn't become complete rubbish.
Thank you.
Yeah. One question from Dave for you.
We're knocking things out of stage of the course. Yeah, thank you. That's a really great presentation and a really interesting piece of work. So I'm very struck looking at it that it has very different affordances to the normal interface into Wikipedia. It kind of highlights the category structure. It gives you memory cues as to where things are. It shows you the contextualization of pages, but also that it loses a lot of the affordances. And actually some of the things you mentioned at the beginning, like search, instantly being able to go and find something, to follow connections between articles in different categories and kind of go on a deep dive. So I just wondered, when you've sort of put this with users, how do they report the experience? What do they think about it in comparison to navigating the Wikipedia website?
So the last thing I built in was a search function. So if we go back just a little bit here on the video, you can actually see a search desk, which uses a virtual keyboard. I'm sorry for that, but it was the best I could do in that short time. So you can actually type in a string or a text, and we fetch first the articles from the Wikipedia API, and then they are just literally flying into the bookshelf. So you can actually search within this, but of course it's slower than just Googling it, obviously. But the Wiki Library should encourage to lose that mindset of just, okay, I want to do something quickly, right? I want to search something quickly. I want to find something. I want to skim read the article and then just whop it. We thought, well, people like to go to libraries and just look for books, right? Just have creative influence or something. And we thought Wikipedia has so much information and most of it is so relevant and so interesting. But I think the interface, the 2D browser is just not engaging enough so people use it as such, as a stroll through website, right? And that is where the Wiki Library comes in. So I don't want it to be as, let's say, fast as Wikipedia, right? That's not the point of the library. So the point of the library is to have an immersive experience which ultimately goes beyond the, let's say, physical realm, right? Because we can do so many nice things within virtual reality which we can't do in real life. So like flying, or like the books are flying in, or the room generation and such.
It's great. Thank you.
And another question from Fabian.
Well, 3 quick questions. The first one is, I assume you're not going to be with us physically in half an hour or 90 minutes, but can we download it and try it today?
Do you have VR glasses there, or?
Like yes. Quest 2 and Quest Pro, I think.
Yes.
At least.
Yes.
So yes.
I mean, I could give you a build. I don't know if it works. I could also, yeah, I mean, it's open source. So do you have like a Unity capable laptop or something there which you can fire up?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
A random build that might work or worked recently.
Yeah, I can send you a build, right? Just and you can try to put it onto your glasses. I tried that, but it didn't work for me. But okay. Maybe it works for you.
Well, will you send us a URL, or will you send us a link to the experimental at the App Store, or how are we going to get it? I'm
probably going to send a WeTransfer link, which holds the build as like the files. If that's
I can.
Fabian knows how to do.
I will set it up. And then the question or remark was to go back on the question that was asked just before. It's a little bit like the keyboard, the flying keyboard. Is I could imagine that one would have next to them like the traditional view of Wikipedia, like synced where you are. Namely that if you're on the page about that topic, you'll have everything that you already have, but also like just the 2D as you just pop in a traditional browser within the experience. It's not as you mentioned, that's not the point. It's not as good, but as a, let's say, transitionary way to remind us of, yeah, that's the usual way to use Wikipedia might help for onboarding, let's say, and yeah, it feels reassuring, I guess. And the question then is, can I replay path exploration? So can I share it with a colleague? Let's say I've been from that room to that room to that room, just like a librarian would walk with me inside the different room in order to share books.
Well, that makes sense.
No, there is no explicit share function for that right now. If you join a common room, like one person makes a room and you join like online in there, you can walk through these portals together and also to these new rooms and read the articles together. But as of now, there's no way of like a share function like you described.
And
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
Thank you. And then what I would tend to do is, indeed, if we don't want to go back to the 2D way in VR, because it might not make sense, is if I can get an email or whatever, a text-based document at the end to say this URL, then this URL, this URL, then I go back to my traditional high-quality desktop or laptop and then can explore. So I'm wondering if you have like a trace of a trail of visits after the VR visit.
No, we don't. We don't now. But it's a good idea as well. Like you can track the branches you have taken, right? Like the path. Yeah. I mean, you could even make a game-like feature out of it, like just like exploring the Wiki library. You have 1% of all the categories and articles read, and you can make an achievement out of it. That would be nice as well.
Thank you. Mark Anderson.
Mark Anderson, a couple of quick questions. I think I guessed it from the video, but how are the books ordered on the shelf? Is it literally just an A to Z sort on the Wikipedia article sort of title, or is it there is some other sort of sorting?
No, for now it's just the title, right? So each article within this room is obviously related to the category. I mean, it's directly ordered in, but we just put them in alphabetical order and divide them into different bookshelves so they don't overflow the bookshelves.
And just another thought, it's an interesting, because I noticed it starts with categories, and a common misperception is that the categories are encyclopedic and Wikipedia. In fact, they're a folksonomy. So how do you find the geography articles that aren't categorized as geography?
I mean, they have to be ordered in some category. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, because the presumption is it's like a sort of encyclopedia. In fact, anyone can edit a category at any time, and they're normally incomplete. It's not a critique. It's just an observation about one of the challenges of using this as the extraction vehicle. It's just the categories, I think, are a lot more volatile than understood.
That's a bit out of scope.
But no, I said it's not a critique. It's just an interesting challenge in doing this. I mean, I really like the visualization.
Yeah, this is really nice to see. Could you unshare so we can see you? And
yeah, sure. Sorry.
We have Brandel coming from the other side of the world.
If I can fine, yeah. All right, yeah.
Yes. It's a fascinating experiment and experience. It sort of reminds me of the way that I believe in German. First-person shooters are called ego shooters, and virtual realities and spaces always necessarily entail the construction of a space and oblige the user to be aware of their kind of residence within that space, and the sort of the consequences of it. And in order to sort of construct that space, like you said, you had to create leather textures and wood grain and things like that, but as kind of Mark pointed out, you also constructed things like the spatial proximity of different things on the basis of the ordering. What kinds of things, like, what are the consequences that you found about sort of understanding those things to have proximity? What are the dimensions that you like and believe have meaning versus things that you kind of just had to put in there? Like, I'm curious about what it is when it's in this kind of other rendered form.
I have to Google 1 second because I didn't understand one word, like a single word, proximity. Give me a second. Proximity.
But things being close to other things, the relationship of elements to each other in that space, because
Okay.
When somebody decides, sort of similar related to what Mark was saying, when somebody decides that to sort of categorize something as geography, it's not generally done with an awareness or a consideration of the fact that because of its alphabetical name, it will reside before this thing and after that thing. I'm curious about what the sort of the reinvention of information is too harsh a way of putting it, but the elevation of information like alphabetical order and the sort of the impact on what it is that an article is as it resides beside other ones. Yeah.
So we haven't thought about that too much. So we had this this one idea where we would plug in some NLP techniques, right? Because in natural language processing, you have like different techniques to find out similarities between the articles, right? Which would also be a nice feature. So when you have this category geography and the books are not listed alphabetically, right? But as a kind of similarity, or what about the, I don't know, like the view count, like how many reads does this article have? And if you place them in that order, what would that cause? But I didn't implement it now, and I haven't thought too much about it. I just had to like, okay, and I got these articles that are within this category. Our basic idea was to use just the Wikipedia database and take these data sets as they were given by the API and just divide them into the bookshelves and just for now sort them alphabetically. But I haven't done more thought about it.
That would be really interesting to play with and to look at the consequences of. Another thing that I remember I wanted to ask is, so you have the space that is a category, the room is a category, and then when you're looking at a book, then that's the article. When you're looking at a bookshelf, then that has sort of legibility as being as sort of containing a clearly delineated scope of some finite collection of documents. Are there other scales and distances at which sort of structures and metastructures are legible and visible in terms of sort of tendencies or patterns within it? You mentioned it looked like the demo had subcategories within it, and so that are those sort of automatically determined in order to make sort of reasonably even demarcations of this is the subcategory of subtropical geography and things like that, or how do you work out how to make sure that all of the sort of vantage points, all of the scales and spaces have as much legibility as possible to render navigation meaningful?
So we heavily rely on the Wikipedia structure for that, right? Because right now we plugged in Wikipedia, and for example, these subcategories, like which are they or so, they are fetched directly from Wikipedia. So if we fetch like a whole category, which is all divided into wiki pages, then we have the parent category, right? And then we take the list of articles and the list of subcategories, and we say, all right, each subcategory is a portal, because you have to go to the subcategory, right, somewhere. And we put it so that the articles are always at the start of the room. So you have, like, if you are in the room, you don't want to search for the books, right? You want them directly to be there. And there is some space sprinkled in and some decor and some tables to make it more immersive. And the subcategory portals are then being placed after we place the bookshelves in the articles. And that's that. Yeah.
And thank you for that. This is obviously a specific topic that is very, very relevant. So it'd be really nice to continue this conversation. You have submitted a paper, which is fantastic. So we look forward to talking more. I would like to thank you, and Theresa is coming after you. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Everything all right? Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.